Hello, Foundations Nation. My name is Tim. This Christmas, do you find yourself in a place where you go, this is crazy? How do I be a parent? How do I keep Christ in Christmas? And today we're joined by our very own Stephanie Farrell, who's the early childhood director here at Foundations. And she has some wonderful and great ideas and tips to help us through this crazy season. So Stephanie, first of all, tell us how long you've been here at Foundations. And two, tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I've been coming to Foundations for about 5 years, and then I've been on staff for about 3. I have a 6-year-old, Emmeline, and I have a 4-year-old, Everett, and I'm married to my husband, Neil. And we've been really blessed to be able to be here.
Excellent. Stephanie, so tell us a little bit, why did you want to talk to our community a little bit about why we want to keep Christ in Christmas?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So this actually came about 2 years ago. I was sitting in a MOPS meeting, which for those of you who don't know, it's a meeting group for moms of preschoolers. And Kelly Smith had given a wonderful speech about keeping Christ in Christmas, and it really touched me in a way that I can do this as a parent. And then I stumbled upon a book called Loving My Actual Christmas, and I read that, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is stuff that I need to pass on and share with parents. It's nothing earth-shattering or things that we didn't know, but it really helped me keep my focus on Jesus, but also keep my stress levels at a manageable level, which is definitely a must this time of year.
So I know when January hits, right, people, the Christmas bills come. I know with COVID, people's job, maybe their hours are less. How do you keep sanity when January comes, when you get all those bills and you're wondering what's going to happen with my finances? How am I going to handle this when it comes right after Christmas?
Yeah, so honestly, the best way to answer that is to start with a question. What do I feel comfortable with when I get my January credit card bill? What am I going to be okay with? And then unpacking it further from there. I actually had this conversation with Neil in August. He looked at me and he was like, we are not talking about Christmas right now. And I'm like, but we are, because I don't want there to be stress when we lead into December. And I started purchasing things, and he's like, that's not what I expected. So starting to open that conversation is the first step. And then second, thinking a little bit outside the box. Typically with Christmas, you have gifts, right? And that's typically the main source of conversation when it comes to your money management. But then the other side to it is all the little things. Well, what parties are you going to? Are you going to have to bring food to those events? Do you need a different outfit for those events? Are the kids going to need a different outfit for those events? Do they have shoes that fit? All of those kind of things add to your budget. So if you start thinking about those things a little bit further out, you can have a little bit of a better idea and a plan and a strategy on how you're going to tackle that financially before you get into it. And then once you lay it out, you have room to then trim and be like, you know what? This year, maybe we don't get new Christmas outfits. Maybe it's something different, just to be able to navigate the budget a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think one thing too, Stephanie, I go, maybe being creative with what you have, creating your own Christmas presents, creating your own ornaments for the tree. I think sometimes, do you have any ideas about some maybe homemade gifts or ideas that maybe don't cost anything, but could be very impactful at Christmas time?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that, because I actually do this every single year, is I make a homemade Christmas present, because I don't know about anybody else, but I have a lot of guilt when it comes around gifts, because I feel I look at everybody else around me and they're really good at doing it, right? And they're really thoughtful. I don't feel like I do that well at all. So what I do is I'll Pinterest, typical, right? Some ideas. And some of the things that I've loved in the past is I've decorated little vases with snowmen on them, or the all-time hit was I made sugar scrub, which is super cheap and easy to do. And then honestly, grandparents, parents, all I want is something made from the kiddos. And you can do stuff that lasts forever. You can make those salt bake ornaments that you can hang on the tree that signifies that it took a little bit more thought, but it realistically didn't cost you anything.
Yeah, that's great. I know my family, we put all our names. I have 4 kiddos, and we put on all our names in a hat, and we draw out the names of the kids in our family. So this year, I have Braden, and we do this early in December, and so we know at that point going, okay, here's the one person I'm either making a gift for. And a lot of times these gifts are homemade because their little kids make it, but we have one person in our mind that we're creating these gifts for. So on Christmas Day, it's kind of really exciting because we had all month of December, I'm thinking of this one person in my family. So everyone has a different name in our family, and thinking about how we can create this just awesome kind of homemade gift for our family member.
Which is awesome when you're doing it this way, because what is that also teaching our children? It's instilling in them that it's not necessarily about the gift that they're getting, but the thoughtfulness behind it, right? And that's the whole premise of the season.
So speaking of family, Stephanie, how do you deal with kind of just the family dynamics at Christmas? The good, I mean, there's a lot of great things about family, but also it can also bring on a lot of stress. There's also a bad part of all the family. How do you balance that? What do you have for us there?
Oh, yeah. And my family is just crazy. We would take a whole section of time just to talk about that. So I am no stranger to this. But I think it is another thing that you should talk about within your spouse. And it's a conversation about expectations versus hope. So expectations are something super tactical, right? What are you honestly expecting from the season? So when you wake up Christmas morning or you go to your grandma's house Christmas Eve, what are you expecting from there? And then ask your kids, what are you expecting when you wake up Christmas morning? We had this conversation with my 6-year-old, and she told us that she wants 2 baby kittens Christmas morning underneath the tree. As you can imagine, that's a no. A hard, firm no. And because we talked about the expectations about what we're going to be receiving and getting and going, we've already hashed out the tears, and we've already hashed out the whys. She's frustrated and disappointed, but we've already dealt with that prior to. And it's easy to understand that context in a 6-year-old's point of view, but why couldn't you have that conversation with your mother-in-law? You know, I know that we've always done Christmas Eve, but I'm actually going to go to my side of the family this year. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are about that, and what can we do to make it so you enjoy it and I enjoy it, because that can be hard. And if you don't talk about those things, that's where a lot of our disappointment comes in. In the Advent season, it's a lot about hope, right? The hope of the anticipated Messiah coming, and there's a lot to be learned within that. And but with hope, you are a lot less sure that something is going to happen.
Yeah, I think, for me, early on, it was funny because, I grew up and my wife's Christmas traditions were different than my Christmas traditions growing up. I was like, okay, Santa brought his gifts on Christmas Day, and we did family gifts on Christmas Eve. And my wife, we do pajamas on Christmas Eve. And, it's hard because, it's like, this is the way I've always done it, and always this is the way it has to be, and you get so locked into that until you realize, I think the key is being flexible. Yes. Because, you come down to what's the real reason of why we're doing what we're doing. Yep. It's about time together. It's about family, and it's about, and I think until that kind of clicked in my head a little bit, I get these traditions, are very important, but then it came down to a point of going, what is truly matters here is time together as a family. And I think about that with the in-laws and mother-in-laws. If my family's watching this, mother-in-law, it's perfect. Never a bad thing. It's perfect. But, partly it's just, being flexible, setting the boundaries and times of going, hey, this is good here, this is good there, and just kind of being open and honest, and don't let things fester inside. Be open and communicate.
Tim, you said something that was really great. Boundaries. We have a wonderful word called no. And you can use it in very different contexts. No, thank you. I really appreciate your offer, but not right now. What are your kids' ages? Are you still taking naps? And Aunt Linda wants you to come over at 2 p.m. to go have this dinner of elaborateness. And in my mommy brain, 2 p.m. is a nap time. We've had lunch at 11, and it's closer to dinner time in my perspective. Feel free to, if that kids need that schedule, and a lot of times during the holiday season that can add stress, and with family and that kind of stuff, exercise your thought of just saying no thank you, or would you be open to doing it this way instead of this way?
As a kid, I remember when it hit December 1st, and every single day I remember running around the house, Christmas is coming, and December 1st, December 2nd, it seemed like every single day just took forever, and Christmas would never come, that awe and that wonder of that Christmas moment was just, embraced in my mind, and I was so excited, and it was just something just amazing about the holiday that I just couldn't look forward to. And now being a parent, sometimes that joy I think gets lost. Christmas just comes so quick, and this year with COVID and we got online schools for kids, things are just crazy, and how do we get that joy, especially as parents, back into Christmas?
This is almost a double-edged sword to say, but they always say you're never going to get these ages back with your kiddos, and not to say that in a way that we are in a really hard time, and there's parts of this season that we really are ready. We're all ready to move on from. But what do you want to remember in 5 years, 10 years down the road? What are the traditions and things that you look back on and be like, man, I'm so glad that we did that? One of the things that my family does is every year I'll go onto Google and I'll just Google because I love calendars and scheduling. So I'll find a pretty calendar, print it off for December, and I put it on our refrigerator. And I stick to the 3 rock idea. So what are your 3 main events that you're going to be doing this year? Typically, we go down to the North Pole, which is down in Colorado Springs, and then we'll go see the Griswolds, which is a great light show if you're looking for one. And then I leave a day open for maybe ice skating or something like that, but it's going to be an event that takes all day. And I put those things on the calendar first, and then filling in with other littler stuff. And spacing it from the beginning of Advent season and then all the way through Christmas tide, because Jesus calls us to ruminate in his season and that gift of the birth of Jesus, all of it, even through and after Christmas.
I think what you said is key. I think being intentional with your time is one of the most important things that you can do at Christmas. I think, I'm thinking about, I remember as a kid, my mom and dad would always read this Three Trees Christmas story, and I hated it as a kid. I'm like, come on, we got to get to these presents, But as an adult now with kids, I'm thinking, man, creating these moments and these opportunities, maybe saying, hey, everyone take your cell phones and put it away. This is going to be a dedicated time of a few hours where we're going to read the Christmas story out of Luke 2. We're going to maybe talk as a family about goals and things that we're thankful for everybody. Being intentional about the times, because I think life moves fast. And it's easy just to coast and, okay, today's Christmas Eve and we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we got to get these presents wrapped before the kids are in bed. We got to do all this. But actually taking a moment to go, take a breath, be intentional. Let's go ice skating as a family. Let's go drive around to look at the Christmas lights. Let's put that in the calendar. Let's be intentional about these every moments. Let's take technology out of it to really spend time as family. And if you don't have family around, I go find some friends to be with because I go, really, that is one of the most truly important things on there. So speaking of that, how can we keep what Christmas is truly about with our family?
Oh, that's great. So it's, again, what we're talking about. It's all the intentionality behind it. But there are some fun things that you can do in there. So I got a calendar, and it's from Ann Voskamp, and it folds up into a beautiful tree. And there's a book in there, and it's all God's story from Old Testament to New Testament, and it's all leading up to Jesus. And then you hang an ornament on the tree, and that's something that we read every day that can keep the main thing. I know a lot of families do Elf on the Shelf. We do too, but I add a Christ twist to it. So I found these little cards just somewhere on the internet, and it's all about bringing kindness and light to someone else's day. And so Harriet the elf will come, but she also brings a note. So she doesn't do anything naughty in our household, but she'll bring a note. Hey, today I would love for you to go buy hot cocoa for somebody you don't know. Hey, please write a letter for grandma who is, miles and miles away. And those kind of things are super, super great. And just making sure that those little kind of things you can do all throughout the time. And it's just, honestly, it doesn't take a whole lot. You can have a baking bash for Jesus for his birthday. Because what do you do on birthdays? You eat cake. So those are the kind of things. It doesn't have to be over the top. You don't have to go buy a whole bunch of stuff. It's just teaching through your everyday.
That's great, Stephanie. I know as we hit December, hit Christmas times, we want to hear from you about what your Christmas traditions are, about what your tips that you have for time management, how to keep Christ in Christmas. I know we'll be putting a bunch of stuff on our Foundations Kids Facebook page, on our main Facebook page, but we want to make this interactive as this time of where COVID gets a little stronger this winter, things are closing down. We want to open that up a little bit more of developing community, hearing from you about ideas that you have how to keep Christ in Christmas. Stephanie, do you have any closing thoughts as we head out?
I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to us, and just know that you're not alone, that we're all here together. We keep hearing that, but truly, Foundations Nation is all here together. And reach out, like Tim said, if you need anything,